Hello, this is me, obviously, talking into the machine again, doing what I do best. I'm going to send you a real quick letter here. I'm waiting for my knitting needle to dry. I sort of mashed the end of it by dropping it out of the car onto the pavement, so I put nail polish on it, and seems to be doing okay. It wasn't working real well when I just had it sort of scratched up. It was snagging my wool. So I'm nail polishing it right now and waiting for it to dry before I can start knitting again. I don't know. I figure I'll have at least the front and the back done by, I don't know, the middle of next month. That's pretty good, huh? Put the neck on and maybe I'll get the sleeves done and I can give it to him for Christmas. That's not bad for almost a year's work. Maddie's asleep. I just put on a pot of coffee. What is new? Let's see. Today is the day that I talked to you last night about Dennis and Candy, and I confirmed it with them that they're going to be there on the 5th. I gave them directions to your house, and I also told them if they were going to be real late coming in, to give you a holler ahead of time, because I told them you don't stay up very late. And I also told Candy that Dennis's smoking in the house is a no-no, and she said that was fine because he probably won't smoke in anybody else's house anyway, but she appreciated knowing ahead of time that that's sort of taboo. They're going to be coming in, like I said, in the evening of the 5th, and then spending the night, and then probably just going down to Temple Square and then heading on out again, so you won't have them hanging around for a real long time. And they're pretty nice people anyway. Let's see. Tim's off at work. He's considering taking a class from Shoreline Community College on systems analysis and design, which should be sort of interesting. He's doing so well at his programming. I'm just amazed that he's come so far so fast and not having anyone to help him, just a manual, and having no idea of how to program in the first place. And his program's about 450 lines long now and does all sorts of nifty little things. DBase is it's a real nice language from what I can see of it. Let's see. Okay, to the travel agent bit. Now, I didn't get the job telephone soliciting because they had just had to fire a bunch of people because the big head honcho boss guy had taken out some phones. Anyway, the reason that I was looking for the telephone soliciting job was it was part-time. I could set my own hours. I wouldn't have to buy a wardrobe because that's not in the budget right now. And it would be more money than like babysitting at home during the day. And that would give me time with Matt during the day that, like when I'm babysitting, I found that really, I sort of felt like I was shortchanging Matthew. And I suppose, you know, that happens when you have a second child, but I don't have a second child yet and I don't want to have one yet, so. Anyway, but as far, it was sort of intriguing talking about when Tim talked about that, or mentioned it, because that would be sort of an interesting thing to do. My biggest concern is that I will have to put out a lot of money for a wardrobe, and I don't know, you know, like how long will it take to train, because one of the points with going into telephone soliciting was I could start immediately and that would help on the budget. The budget is much better now that we don't have a car payment. It's still sitting in our driveway. They're supposed to come pick it up sometime this week, but we don't know when. I may actually be talking to you this afternoon because I'm going to go look at the pictures, and then if there's something interesting I'll probably give you a call to see if you want it, to let you know what prices are, so this may be a post-dated tape. Well, that's neither here nor there. Anyhow, the Renault is sitting in the driveway. They may come and pick it up while I'm gone. I did see an advertisement in the paper while I was looking for jobs about training to be a travel agent. But I'm wondering, you know, is that what you do? I think it was like through Horizon Travel or something like that. Is that how you go? I suppose you... I don't know. Were you guys serious? I sort of feel strange talking about it in this manner. I suppose the person to talk to is Renata and see what's the best way to go and what realistically I can expect out of it and what sort of output I'm going to have to make. Like, for example, we don't have a modem for our computer, and there's a possibility we might not be able to do it at all because, you know, if they don't have an Apple compatible computer for me to work off of, then I'm going to have to be going into an office, which is something, you know, into an office continually, which is something I don't want to do. I don't want to go back to work during the day. That's right out. I wouldn't mind maybe a little bit, but as going back to work, no. There's no point in it. We made the decision for me to stay home, and it was actually me who suggested that possibly I could go back to work in the evening, and it wasn't Tim's decision, because our budget will handle us at this point. It's just we want to pay off some of the debts that we've incurred faster, so they aren't hanging over our heads, and so we aren't paying even more interest on them, which you'll probably agree is a real reasonable thing to want to do. So maybe if you could give me some more insight, because I don't even know where to start looking. And you obviously have some idea of what goes on there, because otherwise you wouldn't have thought of it, right? Aren't I smart? My mama didn't raise no dummies. Let's see. Lynn's still interested in an iron if anybody wants to give it to her. She's going to take up borrowing mine. I can see big problems with this, especially because I have to deliver it to her every time she wants to use it. The Websters got off 2 days ago. They left about 4:30 on Monday afternoon, after going to work all day. Can you imagine that? Going to Europe and going to work that day. So they didn't get into London until about midnight. And I don't remember if I told you this over the phone or not. No, I didn't. It was really funny. Mrs. Webster the previous weekend had been planning their itinerary, and she had zillions and zillions of books on the British Isles, and was going through and mapping out and writing page numbers and cross-referencing and putting everything on the map, so that, say they whipped into Winchester and they had an extra half an hour, they'd have at least 3 or 4 things that were in the area that they could choose from, that they'd know right at a glance what times they were open, how much they cost, how to get there, so that they wouldn't waste any time. And I thought, oh, good grief. I mean, I've heard about the way they take vacations anyway. You know, it's go, go, go non-stop. That doesn't sound like a fun vacation to me. But this was just killing me off. She said, when I told her that Patty really didn't want to meet them, not that she didn't want to meet them, but that Debbie didn't want an itinerary, Lucy said, well, that's just fine, because, you know, if you make an appointment to meet somebody, they might be a little bit late, and then you've wasted 15 minutes. Oh, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me. Anyhow, so we saw them off. Well, we didn't see them off. We were picking up their car from the airport, and I picked him up after work, and we got there about half an hour after their plane was scheduled to have left. And they had parked it on the top level of the parking deck, as we had asked them to. And so we were hanging over the edge of the railing looking at planes taking off, and all of a sudden, down the runway buzzes a Hawaiian Airlines jet, DC-9. Now, Hawaiian Airlines is the kind of operation that they use the Surveyor terminal, another real big airline. Surveyor has one little desk with no computer type thing in the terminal, and Hawaiian Air uses Surveyor's terminal and sort of slaps up a paper sign that says Hawaiian Air whenever they have a flight going out. That's the biggie in the airline. So we knew that the plane going down the runway had to be their plane, because they were on a DC-9, and, you know, there just aren't that many Hawaiian Airs going out. Anyway, so Tim looks at his watch as this plane's going off after we've waved bye-bye and yelled, and, you know, Maddie, that's Grandma and Grandpa going off, and blah, blah, blah. Tim looks at his watch and he says, oh, darn, they wasted half an hour. I thought that was very amusing. I could see Lucy on the plane cursing because they weren't going to get to England faster than that. Actually, between the two of them, they had words, because Ed wanted to spend, you know, a day, maybe a day and a half, just in the British Museum. And Lucy is allowed 2.5 hours maximum for the British Museum. You know, it's real easy to see all the treasures of antiquity in 2.5 hours. It gives you an idea of what sort of trip they're taking. But anyway, they're off fine, and they've lent us one of their cars, well, the car of our choice, for 3 weeks. So that's nice, too. So now we don't have to go down to one car quite yet. And Tim borrowed Ed's bike. Actually, we borrowed both his bikes, so we're going to do some bike riding to get Tim in shape before he starts riding his bike to work when they move down to University Village. He figures once he gets to Burt Gilman, it's about 8 miles into University Village, and it's about 1.5 miles to get down to the Burt Gilman. So going to work won't be any problem at all, because it's downhill or flat, and coming back it's all flat except for the 1.5 miles from the Burt Gilman up to our house, which isn't a really big incline. I mean, it's a steady hill, but he doesn't figure it'll be any problem at all, and he figures that riding his bike, it'll take him as much time, or maybe just even slightly less than it does now, driving the car to where he's working in Bellevue. So he'll stay in wonderful shape, and we won't have to have insurance and all that. We got our license tab notices for the Renault, which of course we don't have to worry about, but this is the first time we renewed them. And last year the Honda and the Mazda total was something like around 170 for both of them. And the Renault license tab renewal fee is $163.70. We were real glad we didn't have to pay that one. On top of the insurance, we don't have to pay for it. The weather's getting chilly. Oops. And my knitting needle's almost dry. I think it is dry. I just want to make sure that I don't get any nail polish on the sweater. You can understand that, can't you? Nope, not quite. Just a little bit more. So, I'm doing laundry right now. I do laundry every day. It's amazing. But you already knew that. Stop it. This clock's so funny. Okay. Gee, what now? How much tape have I taken up? Oh, I've taken up a fair amount. I thought this was going to be a real quick letter. I labeled it before I started it. Oh, I'm enclosing in your envelope, if you haven't already found it, the St. Vincent de Paul thingy. And I assume that it's perfectly legal to give it to you. I figured, you know, for the cost of the shelves, you might as well get at least something back on your taxes. Or, you know, use it as a tax write-off. So you're perfectly welcome to it, even though the dresser was Tim's. He doesn't much care at all. It was so nice to get that dishwasher out of the kitchen. I mean, it was molding. It was really gross. The guy was quite perturbed that it was full of water when he came to pick it up. I think they dumped it out in the street finally after he was hauling it up the driveway, sloshing everywhere. But now the corner is nice and open, and I just put Matt's high chair there, so if I need someplace to set something temporarily, the high chair tray is right there. But it makes the kitchen a lot more light, and boy, that shelf is sure nice to have the microwave up there. That just works out so nicely. Matt doesn't play with the knobs, and it's right there by the oven, so I can fix all my dinner in one spot, and oh boy, it's wonderful. Tim managed to get, obviously, all his clothes into the new dresser, and we rearranged the bedroom, and it looks very nice, and it's even given me the impetus to keep it clean. I mean, I even vacuumed this morning. Again, that's twice in 1 week. It's kind of difficult. And the other, well, difficult. I guess I'm just lazy. Let's be honest about this. In our house in Everett, it was no big deal to get the vacuum out of where it was and just whip it around the one-level small house. I could vacuum the whole house out of one outlet, the one in the hallway. But we keep the vacuum cleaner in Matt's room, so I usually never think about it until Matt's having a nap, and then, of course, you can't go in and get the vacuum cleaner. I can run it while he's taking a nap, because that doesn't bother him, but anyway, I did it this morning. So it looks all nice, and everything's clean. Oh, and I gotta go get something out of the freezer for dinner. Hang on. I think we're gonna have chicken curry with rice. I pulled a chicken out, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be chicken curry or not. Tim likes it. But I don't think we have any chutney. Or any of the other good stuff for that matter. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll have something else. Maybe we'll have chicken taco pie. I don't know. If you're real concerned about it, I'll write you a letter and let you know, but, you know, I bet you really don't care in the slightest. Oh, golly. Let's see, our neighbor hasn't had her baby yet, but her husband is going to induce labor if she hasn't had it on her due date. Which I think is really kind of a strange attitude for a physician, especially a naturopathic physician, to take. You know, if the baby isn't ready to be born, why mess with it? But I can see maybe the rationale on it, because he goes double duty to school. He's got a full load of schooling in acupuncture, and also his full load of classes at John Bastyr, the naturopathic college. I guess last spring he was taking something like 34 credits, which is the same as, you know, the University of Utah taking 34 credits. This guy is real busy. Anyway, I can imagine that they probably want the baby to be born and the wife to be pretty well situated with taking care of the baby before he goes back to work. Or back to school, which will be in, well, if they induce labor right after a due date, I guess about 3 weeks after the baby's born. So, I suppose there is some rationale to it, although I still think it's kind of strange for a naturopath to want to induce labor. Sarah's doing well. She's up to over 11 pounds now. I was looking in Matt's baby book last night, or the day before yesterday, doesn't matter. And he didn't reach 11 pounds until he was 6 weeks old, and Sarah's 2 weeks old. She's a big girl. Lynn said to me yesterday, "Do you think she's ugly?" And I said, "No, I think she's beautiful." And she said, "But she's so big. I've never had a dainty little baby." I think she thinks that big is ugly, but she'll even out. Mrs. Webster said they all even out by about 3 months, which is true. You know, because Matt started out real small, much smaller than Sean. And after about, I don't know, about 3 weeks or so, Lynn said that Sean was smaller than Matt on all the, you know, like at the 3-month measurement, Sean's weight and Matt's weight. Matt was bigger than Sean, and height too, on all those measurements. Even though he started out smaller, he just grows into his paws faster, and bigger and better. And he still says "bio" a lot, and "pa." Let's see, what else? I told Daddy, but maybe you didn't hear, Mom. Lynn's real impressed because Shawnee's saying 2-word sentences like "new car," and Matt says stuff like "go car, Daddy, work." He said that the other day as we had to go pick up Dad. That was when we were going to go pick up the Webb's car from the airport. He's talking really well. He talks a lot. Except one thing that's really irritating that he's picked up of Sean's is "huh? Huh?" instead of "yes, I think." I'm not certain. It's, you know, you ask him a question, it's "huh?" Knock it off, kid. Well, golly. Here I am again, at a loss for words. Now, if I were Patty, you'd have a wonderful news-filled letter. But I really feel stupid talking into a tape recorder. Well, I guess that's probably it, unless I can think of something else interesting to say in a little while. So I'll leave just a little teeny tiny piece of blank tape in here, and then you'll run into the Jim and Margie floor seminar, and you can ignore that. And you may have the tape, or you can send it back with another newsy letter on it. It just takes, all I put is 2 stamps on it. Probably doesn't even take 2 stamps, but I'm not going to bother going to the post office for it. And that's cheaper than a phone call in most cases, so whatever you want to do with it. If you want to keep it and record something on it, feel free. You just have to put, I'm leaving the tape on the tabs. Just make sure that something's covering the holes to record. So, that's about it. So I guess I'll talk to you later, and I'll get this in the mail today. And have a nice time with Dennis and Candy. And I don't think that I'll be able to get down to give them your water bottle and all that sort of stuff. I had planned on it, but I have a bunch of stuff to do today and tomorrow, so I don't think I'll be able to. So maybe if Patty comes up for Thanksgiving, we can give it to him. I know you said don't bother, but, you know, I feel sort of silly. And besides that, they're just clogging up the top of our refrigerator. So I thought I'd send them down and let them clog your refrigerator. Sounds fair to me. What do you think? Okay, well, I'm going to go have a cup of coffee and clip my toenails, and I'll talk to you later. Warning, warning, we're about to get into Amway stuff. Turn it off now. This is your last warning. Okay, all right for you. Here we go, bye.
For 2 or 3 years. And this support system will only motivate you, will only inspire you, will only train you for a 2 to 3 year period unless you're growing. If you're growing, this thing gets better every day you're in it. You see things that you never knew existed. The sophistication is unbelievable. The potential is incredible. If you're growing, the excitement level is just better all the time. But if you're not, if you're playing with this thing, or if you're struggling with this thing and you're not